Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Class 8. Today we'll start our lesson number 3, The Adventure of the Dying Detective. It's a very interesting story, and the main character is Sherlock Holmes. Actually, this story is taken from the collection of the short stories of the Sherlock Holmes. The main character in all that stories is Sherlock Holmes. He is a detective, and all the stories are very interesting, and you will also find this story very interesting when we start the reading. First I will give you the introduction of the story so you can understand it better when we start reading. In this story, Sherlock Holmes, who arrested a killer, he pretended to be ill. He showed that he was much ill, and how he pretend this one, he just avoid eating and drinking for 3 days, and in this way he just made his appearance that he was much sick. So his landlady, who saw him in such a condition, she thought that he was much sick and she was quite frightened, and she went to Dr. Watson, who was his close friend and also had taken part in some of his detective adventures. And she asked Watson to stay away by telling him that his disease was contagious, because he knew if doctor came close to him, he would know about the truth that he didn't have any type of disease or any type of fever. So he deceived his close friend, Dr. Watson. He also deceived him because only in this way he was able to impress Smith. Smith here is another character of the story, and he was the killer. And in this story, Sherlock Holmes is going to arrest him, and he sent his friend Watson, Dr. Watson, to that person to tell him that Sherlock Holmes is much sick. So that's why he just deceived his friend also, to so that he could go there and he could impress the other character Smith about the illness of Sherlock, as he was not good in lying. So he also deceived his friend, and he also deceived Smith, as he wanted him to believe that he was near to die, and in this way Smith would accept his crime. So Smith has a revengeful nature, so he came to see Sherlock Holmes because Sherlock spread the reports about him around London. So he thought Sherlock did not have any evidence of his crimes. He knew about that a disease that Sherlock showed off, because he had get much research about that disease, and he actually sent him a gift. It was a box in which there was a spring, and there was attached a pin, and while opening the box, the pin hit the person who opened that box, and that pin just hurt the person, and through the blood of that person the disease entered the body of that person. So just he sent him that gift, and he was sure that when Sherlock opened that box, and definitely he would be hurt by that pin, and he would get that disease. So he sent his friend just to show him that his required results are get. And so that character Smith came to him to see him dying. So now we'll start the story, and I hope that you will understand now it better, and side by side I will explain after reading. Sherlock Holmes' landlady came to my house. She looked worried and explained, Sherlock Holmes is dying. It means that the landlady of Sherlock, he came to Dr. Watson's home. This morning I could stand no more of it. I said, with your leave or without it, Mr. Holmes, I am going for a doctor this very hour. He replied, let it be Watson. Then, hurry, sir, or you may not see him alive. So his landlady, she went to Dr. Watson to call him and telling him that Sherlock Holmes is not in good condition, and if you did not go so hurriedly, so he will die soon. I was horrified, for I had heard nothing of his illness. As we drove back, I asked for the details. He has been working at a case in an alley near the river, and he says that he caught this illness from the dock workers. She was telling him about the disease of Sherlock, He didn't it look terrible? His gaunt, wasted face staring at me from the bed sent a chill to my heart. The thin hands twitched incessantly, his voice was croaking and spasmodic. There was a hectic flush upon either cheek, and the dark crusts clung to his lips. He lay listlessly as I entered the room, but the sight of me brought a gleam of recognition to his eyes. So, when the doctor entered his room, that is the condition of that person. The doctor is telling to us that he is in a very much miserable condition. His face was quite thin, and his voice was also changed, and her lips were also there were also dark crusts clung on his lips. So it's very miserable condition of the patient. He was much worried about him. My dear fellow, I cried, approaching him. Stand back, stand right back, said he. I know what is the matter with me. It's a disease from Sumatra. One thing only is certain, it is infallibly deadly, and it is horribly contagious. Holmes, said I, you are not yourself. A sick man is but a child, and so I examine your symptoms and treat you for them. So here, when the doctor tried to came close to the patient, he just cried out that to stay away from him, as this disease was contagious, and he requested him to stay away from him. But in response, doctor told him that no, I will examine you because the patient is just like a child, and it's his duty to check the patient. He motioned me away. Keep your distance. What do you know of Tapanoli fever? What do you know of the Black Formosa corruption? These are the names of diseases. I have never heard of either, but I happen to know Dr. Anstey, the greatest living authority upon tropical disease. I am going this instant to fetch him. I turned resolutely to the door. So the doctor is telling us that he did not know about that disease, so he decided to bring some other doctor, and deciding that, he went towards the door. Never have I had such a shock. In an instant, with the tiger spring, the dying man had locked the door. The next moment he had staggered back to his bed. So when the doctor intended to go for to fetch the doctor, the patient immediately just sprang from his bed and just locked the door. He didn't want him to go away. You won't take the key from me by force, Watson. I have got you, my friend. It's 4 o'clock. At 6 we resume our conversation. I had stood for some minutes looking at the silent figure in the bed. He appeared to be asleep, unable to settle down. I had walked slowly to the mantelpiece. On it was a small black and white ivory box with sliding lid. I had stretched out my hand to examine it more closely when, put it down, Watson, this instant, I say. His head sank back upon the pillow, and he gave a deep sigh of relief as I replaced the box upon the mantelpiece. Sit down, man, and let me have my rest. So when he locked the door, doctor had nothing to do. So there was a box on the mantelpiece. He just tried to examine it. When the patient, he shouted quickly that don't touch that box. And when he left the box, the patient felt relaxed, and he lay on the bed to just take a rest. At 6, he shuddered and again made a sound between a cough and a sob. Then he began to talk with the same feverish animation as before. You will now light the gas, Waston, but you will be very careful that no for one instant shall it be more than half on. Now please place some letter and a paper and papers upon this table within my reach. Thank you. Now kindly use those sugar tongs to move the small ivory box to this table. Place it here among the papers. Good. You can now go and fetch Mr. Culverton Smith of 13 Lower Burke Street. I never heard the name, said I. So here the patient is giving instruction to doctor just to give him papers, and that box also not touched by hand but with the tongs. put near him on the table, and then he asked him to turn on the gas also on in the medium level, and then he asked him to go, he gave him the address to call the person. His name is Smith. This is actually the killer. I never heard the name, said I. So the doctor is saying that this person was unknown to him. It may surprise you to know that the man upon earth who knows most about this disease is not a medical man but a planter. Mr. Culverton Smith is a well-known resident of Sumatra, now visiting London. If you could persuade him to come here and give us the benefit of his unique experience of his disease, the investigation of which has been his dearest hobby, I cannot doubt that he could help me. There is no good feeling between us. His nephew, Watson, died horribly. He has a grudge against me. You will soften him, Watson. Beg him, get him here by any means. He can save me, only he. So he is giving him the introduction of that person. He said that the only person who knew about the disease that I have is only that person. He lives in Sumatra, and the disease I also got from that area, and he has studied much about that disease, and he can sort out my problem, and he can help me, he can save me from death. And he also told him that there are some problems between me and that person, but you have to request to that person to come and check me. So the doctor showed his resolution. He said that I will bring him in a cab if I have to carry him down to it. You will do nothing of the sort. You will persuade him to come, and then you will return in front of him. Make any excuse so as not to come with him. Don't forget, Watson, you won't fail me. You never did fail me. So he is giving him some instructions that just ask him to come to me, and when he would be agree to come to me, then in front of him you show him that you are not coming with that person to my house. You just leave the place and you will come to me alone, and that person should not know about your arrival to me. So he also giving him to be very careful, ask him to be very careful, and don't fail his plan. I left him babbling like a foolish child. Below, as I stood whistling for a cab, a man came on me through the fog. How is Mr. Holmes, sir? He asked. It was an old acquaintance, Inspector Morton of Scotland Yard, in his official clothes. He is very ill, I answered. He looked at me with strange expression that seemed almost like a smile. The cab had driven up, so I thought no more of it, and I left him. So here, when the doctor was going to fetch that person, at that moment he met another person. He was an inspector, and he asked about Sherlock Holmes, and he said that he is very ill. As he knew that he is ill, so that person has a smile on his face, and the doctor did not notice about it as the taxi came and he had to go. Lower Burke Street proved to be a line of fine houses. The particular one at which my cabman pulled up had old-fashioned iron railing, a massive folding door, and shining brasswork. All was in keeping with the solemn butler who went to tell his master of my arrival. So when the person reached there, the servant of that person received him, and he went to tell his master about that person. I heard murmuring, he can come in morning or he can stay away. My work must not be hindered. I thought of Holmes tossing upon his bed of sickness and counting the minutes, perhaps, until I could bring help to him. His life depended upon my promptness. Before the apologetic butler had delivered his message, I had pushed past him and was in the room. So the person to whom he came to fetch, that person's butler told him about the arrival of the visitor, and he refused to meet that person. And he listened the refusal of that person, so immediately he himself entered the room. What's this? Culverton Smith cried in a high, screaming voice. What is the meaning of this intrusion? Didn't I send you word that I would see you tomorrow morning? I'm sorry, sir, said I, but the matter cannot be delayed, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. The mention of my friend's name had an extraordinary effect upon the little man. The look of anger passed in an instant from his face. His features became tense and alert. Have you come from Holmes? He asked. He is desperately ill, that's why I have come. The man motioned me to a chair and turned to resume his own. As he did so, I caught a glimpse of his face in a mirror over the mantelpiece. I could have sworn that it was set in a malicious smile, yet I must have been mistaken, for the turn to me in an instant later with a genuine concern upon his face. So when the person he himself entered the room, the other person he cried that why you entered the room, and he told him that my friend Sherlock Holmes is much ill. So on listening the name of Sherlock, he just gave him the chair to sit down, and he is telling about the expression of that person. First there was much anger, and then he just saw his reflection in the mirror, and he saw that he noticed that there was a smile on his face, but he covered his smile. He did not show his smile to the visitor, and when he turned to that person, there was very serious and genuine expression on his face. I only know Mr. Holmes through some business dealings which we had, but I have very respect for him. It was on account of your special knowledge that Mr. Holmes desired to see you. He thought that you were the one man in London who could help him because of your knowledge of Eastern disease. So that person, Mr. Smith, told him that he knew Sherlock Holmes because of some business, and I respect him. And his friend Watson told him that he is much ill and he wanted him because he had much knowledge about the disease, and he thought that you can help him. Mr. Culverton Smith smiled pleasantly and picked up his cap. I will come with you at once, he said. I remembered Holmes' command. I have another appointment, said I. Very good, I will go alone. You can rely upon me being there within half an hour at most. So the person was immediately agreed to visit Sherlock Holmes, and he said that I am coming with you, but Dr. Watson told him that he just remembered that Sherlock Holmes said him not to come with that person, so he just make an excuse that I had some other appointment. So that person said, okay, no problem, I will go by myself and you can leave.